who influenced you? Like, was it Paul's dad, or was it someone else in your life, personally or professionally? Like, maybe you had a career before Coolright. Like, who's been the biggest influence on you?
I feel like it's been a little bit of a snowball. It's that rolling snowball of collected experiences. Earlier on, there's no one that I could pinpoint early on that I resonated to. And I guess that's probably because I was in so many different spaces. There's lots of different things as a collective that have gone towards who I am today.
Welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast with Anton Guinea, where we unpack all things influence and we help leaders particularly find their influence by talking to amazing humans and finding out what influence means to them, who they've been influenced by, and who they have influenced. And this podcast episode, proudly sponsored by the Guinea Group of Companies. The Guinea Group helps leaders upgrade, upskill, uplift their teams and their influence. Team, welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast with Anton Guinea, where we unpack all things influence for leaders. So today we've got the amazing Angela Bondini, and Angela is an experienced business manager at Coolright Air Conditioning Proprietary Limited, a respected air conditioning and climate control company based in Thornton, New South Wales, Australia. In Angela's leadership role, Angela supports the operational and the commercial success of a business that's been serving the Hunter Valley, Newcastle and surrounding regions for decades with tailored HVAC. For anyone that doesn't know, that means heating, ventilation and air conditioning solutions. Angela's company is called Coolright Air Conditioning if you're in that area and you need some support, but I feel like Angela could help you all around the country. Coolright Air Conditioning has a heritage dating back to 1978. Stop it. That's huge. Recognised as a family-owned and operated company specialising in supplying, installing, and I love this piece, the maintenance piece, the maintenance and repair of air conditioning systems, residential, commercial, and the industrial sectors. Angela Bondini, welcome to our podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Anton. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. What did I miss?
I think that's pretty good. That's pretty good. We're probably more in the industrial infrastructure space than we are in the residential maintenance these days, although our business name has been synonymous with the residential market for a really long time. Paul and I have really changed it up in the last probably 5 years, but in the last 12 months especially, we have started to focus on the work that we really love to do and that we're becoming exceptionally well known for, and that's the space that we want to play in because we enjoy it. It's challenging work. It pushes everyone's skills, so that's where we're at.
I love it. And I've got a electrical background in industry, so I love it.
I know you do.
As I stand here in our studio, I can see QAL that way. So Queensland Alumina, they hire 2,000 or 3,000 people on a daily basis out there playing. We've got, I can see, the Port Authority, Wicket, Gladstone's Gladstone's like Newcastle, Angel. So we just got all of this massive industrial infrastructure that.
Lots of industry. Yeah, absolutely.
Coolright would be right at home with an office in Gladstone, I reckon.
Well, we're open to movement.
That's right. Open to growth, like your style.
Absolutely.
Now, tell me about 1978. Who started this thing in 1978?
Paul's dad started the business in 1978, grew it to an exceptionally successful company, especially, as I said, in that residential space. Paul started as an apprentice in, dare we say it, the 90s. From there, Paul started to play in that industrial infrastructure mining type sector. And obviously, as an air conditioning mechanic, you don't learn those skills from the start. You learn that domestic market of, fixing people's residential air cons and installing them. So he, hunted and gathered information for years to build up his skill. He asked questions. He sought after people who could teach him what he needed to know. And so today he is the leader in that space.
Wow. Isn't that a great journey when you put it like that? That
It really
wasn't a
is.
trained thing. It didn't come.
No, it's where we are today. It certainly didn't come to us on a platter, served up as this perfect business model. We've done the hard slog, especially in these last we've been in the business together for about 8 years now. And so in that time, we've really taken what was quite an established business and turned it on its head, and lifted it to an area that we wanted to take it. It was important for us to make the business our own, and so that's where we are today. We're in this space that we really enjoy. It's challenging, but it certainly didn't come with it wasn't easy getting to where we are. And I certainly don't expect to be easy from here, because business is not easy.
Business is business, eh? Like, aren't we lucky, Angela, that we're naive and we go into this thinking it's going to be easy?
Oh, absolutely. I remember going back when I first came into the business, and my best friend said to me, "Are you sure? Are you sure you want to work with your husband? Are you sure this is what you want?" And I said, "Not completely naive. Yep, it's going to be amazing." And in the preceding years from there, I thought, oh, maybe I should have listened. But, fast forward to now, and I wouldn't have it any other way. As much as we really work hard, we also have that flexibility of, being like you, being able to travel with our business, being able to raise children. Our kids, when I came into the business, our kids were still primary school. They're now late teens, they're young adults. So it's that flexibility, and it's also about showing them how it can be done.
Nice. Hold that thought, because we're talking influence, Angela Bondini. We're talking influence, and you're influencing your kids just through your behaviour and your decision making.
100%.
Let's go back to just part of your last response, where you said that you went into business with hubby. I have a saying, Angela, which is probably, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but it's probably got me into trouble. Can't be that hard. Can't be that hard.
I love it. I love it. We have a sign up in our office of words in red that we don't say, and some of those words are surely, surely not, assume. They're bad words for us. We don't say those words.
I like that.
Oh, surely they knew. Surely they knew what they were doing. So they're red words for us. I assumed.
I might take that, and I might ask Kat and say, "What are our red words? What are the?"
Yeah, these are words we can't. We can't assume. We can't. Think that someone else thinks the way that we do.
Perception versus perspective, Angela. What's their perspective?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Angela, so who, like, we're going to talk in a moment just about how much you influence others, because you've got a business full of humans that you'll be influencing, as well as your kids might end up in the business one day. But who influenced you? Like, was it Paul's dad, or was it someone else in your life, personally or professionally? Like, maybe you had a career before Coolrite. Like, who's been the biggest influence on you?
I feel like it's been a little bit of a snowball. It's that rolling snowball of collected experiences. So earlier on, there's no one that I could pinpoint early on that I resonated to. And I guess that's probably because I was in so many different spaces. I I was in a government space. I've been in the hospitality space. I've been in the property type space. Like there's lots of different things as a collective that have gone towards who I am today. I think in more recent years, there have been multiple people that resonate with me. And what I find is that a lot of the time, the people that I resonate to are strong, powerful businesswomen. I resonate with that sense of empowerment that they have. They're so sure of themselves in their own space, and that is something that I constantly strive for. I know that we'll discuss this, but as a leader, that striving for excellence and the empowerment of what you can do in your own space is up there with my top. It's my top one of where I want to be at as well. I could probably name multiple women that come into that space, and they're not necessarily there's not necessarily one. There's lots of women that I have looked to, and I'm constantly finding new women to look toward. I go to a lot of these events and we listen to exceptional business people, and it's always amazing the people that come out and you really resonate with. There's also women in my own personal life that I look toward because I appreciate what they do in terms of their their strength and their conviction in their knowledge and I guess having that sense of confidence and truth and also authenticity in what they do. Authenticity is a big thing for me.
Confidence. Yeah, I agree totally. So in saying that, could you give our listeners and our viewers, Angela, just a name or two? Who are the women that you just look up to and you just think who's the biggest inspirational woman that you look to in business at the moment?
At the moment, the top one would be a woman named Lauren Lahav. She is based in Vegas. I encountered Lauren in the last 18 months at a Tony Robbins event. She speaks for Tony and has done for over 30 years. But she holds her own space in empowerment for women, and holds her own event in Las Vegas each March around International Women's Day. And I went to that event for the first time beginning of this year in 2025. And the support and the love and the authenticity that event brought was like nothing I've been to. And she creates that space for women to be who they are, to speak on her stage about what is important to them or their charity or their business. And just being in that room was so powerful. It really, Lauren has the ability to create a space for women where it doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be a business owner or be a powerful woman in your own space. You can be a normal everyday person who likes to follow, say, people on social media or has a job, as an employee as opposed to your own business, and you are still just as important in that room. And that for women, that's a really powerful thing.
Wow, Angela,
So,
I'm moved. That's a moving story. That is a moving story that you were just so empowered. You felt safe to be yourself amongst
yes.
a room full of strong, empowered women. Wow.
Absolutely.
And it feels like, and please excuse my naivety, I am obviously the opposite sex, gender, biology. So, as much as I can say I understand the challenges of the glass ceiling, I never will probably. And I love how you've unpacked that so beautifully to say that it is so important for your life, for your psyche, nearly your psychology, just to feel like you are around these amazing humans who are, I love, and
Absolutely.
you said the word love, support, love, and authenticity. Holy crap. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
There's, that as business women, we can put on that masculine energy and be very strong in our space, but we're still women. We still have that emotion that we carry. And so having that love and that authenticity, those real, that flowy feminine feel is so important. It keeps us, well, for me, it keeps me at my truth.
Can you, so for all our listeners and our viewers, this is off tap good. Thank you. This is beautiful. It's so good.
Pleasure. It's great.
Can you just help me understand that, Angela? Like from a male perspective, you said the words flowy feminine feel, like that just like I want to vibe
Yeah,
with that. I'm liking that.
look, I think, as like I said, as women, I'm in a male dominated industry, and that's hard work some of the time. I guess it's tapping into who we are as an emotional being, as a soulful female, but also still harnessing that strength and power and sometimes those very masculine energies. I think we tend to run that risk of putting on such a masculine energy because we want to hold our own space in business, but we've still got to remember to flow and to feel and stay at our, for me, it's being that my authentic self. I can still be very powerful, strong, independent woman. That independence can rear its head as stubbornness. It can rear its head as assertiveness. I've had that used against me from male counterparts who try to use the fact that I am strong and assertive as that it's a negative thing. So it's the balance, isn't it? It's getting that balance between holding your own in your space, but also still being true to yourself and keeping that, that flow of energy. And sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes that is, it can be really challenging when you're having, a difficult conversation with an employee, or a difficult conversation with, say, with my husband as a business partner. Sometimes that flow and that emotion can be difficult to bring in because you're trying to keep that control and strength in that conversation. But it's getting that balance.
So cool. Thank you so much, Angela. I didn't know we'd go here today in this conversation, and so I think it's a beautiful topic because, and I feel a bit for females because if you're too assertive, then you've lost your feminine touch, and you're not a good leader then because you're female. But males need to be assertive, and that's okay when you're a male leader. Like it's this real dichotomy between what society expects of our female leaders, and I think that's probably another challenge in the space that I hear about speaking to
Yes.
female leaders, that
Yeah.
you can't show up masculine, but then you can't show up feminine either. So how the heck are you supposed to show up?
Exactly. Exactly. It's getting that beautiful balance of that, of the strength and confidence in whatever it is your field or space is, but then it's also keeping that, I don't want to say female emotion, but I guess it's just that element of you as a female that, it brings the human part of you that feels.
That feels. That's it. You've summed it up.
Yeah,
The human part that feels.
and that's not to say that men in the same sort of role don't feel. I guess it's just, it's different. We are, like you said before, we are a very different species. We're very the same, and then we're very, very different. So it's
We are just a bit of
it's
species.
And sometimes our brains look like this. Or I feel like you've probably got more of a. So
yeah.
sometimes you're more plugged in.
Yeah. Look, sometimes, and look, the interesting part is that sometimes I'm not in that feminine energy. Sometimes I'm not in that, in my authentic self, because you get wrapped up, especially you go into stress, when there's you under the pump, you're busy, there might be something challenging that's happening and you go into that stressed state. You generally, I know for myself, if I'm in a stressed state, I'm not in that, that beautiful flow, potentially not in my own, truth and authenticity, because I'm putting on that, not a mask, but I guess just that armor. You put on that armor to protect, because sometimes being in that vulnerable space it's hard. Being vulnerable is really hard. And so when you're in that stress state, it's much easier to deal with it if you've got that armor on.
Of course. Geez, you articulate this so well, so impactfully. Our listeners and viewers will be hanging off every word on this, seriously. And my amazing, beautiful, loving wife will be loving this. My wife is my favourite podcast fan. Thank you, Mrs. J. She'll be listening intently.
Perfect.
And she gives me a lot of good feedback. Angela, I get the gift.
Need to take it as a gift.
And I do regularly. So, and I always update. And you know that when you came on for our listeners and our viewers, when Angela came on, I was actually recording a new intro, because Jill said you need to do a new intro and a new outro, because she said I don't like your current one. So I was just, and I thought I'll quickly do that.
Perfect.
So now it's amazing it's just yeah, I'm just really blown away by, I met you in America, and you and Paul were very businessy, and it was, we're doing business,
Yes.
we're doing business. But underneath all that, there's this holy, like you are a deep, deep human, and I love the fact that you can communicate that, not just be deep. So thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Now, in saying that, so we talked about that amazing Lauren, who was an influence on you. How would you define the word influence? We're going to talk about leadership in a minute too, Angela, but how would you define the word influence? What is influence?
I've been thinking about that, Anton, because it's a tricky one. We hear that word thrown around a lot with social media and influencers. For me, an influence, or being someone of influence, is, I guess, really just showing people potentially a better way. If you're of influence on someone, they're probably looking to you because they like what you're doing, they want what you've got, they see, they have some kind of respect or positivity towards you. That, I guess that's with positive influence. There can be plenty of negative influence in the world, but in terms of positive, I go to say me with one of my staff members, and I think I've been a positive influence on her. And really what that's looked like is me stepping up, showing how things can be done, writing a different story, writing that, that compelling story of, well, I can run a business and I can travel to America to go to a business conference, and I can also be in contact with you at the same time, and you feel supported by me while I'm there. So I guess that part of me being an influencer on the people around me is really just, for me, I guess it's setting a good example. And good example is what it looks like for me, like what that success looks like for me, because it might be different for someone else. Being a good influence for someone else may be if they've got toddlers, picking up the toys and showing them how to pick up the toys. But for me as a business owner with, say, adult children and dealing with, human beings, with adults in our business, that may look like me behaving in a professional, well-spoken, not flying off the handle, and showing them how we like it to be done, I guess, in our business.
And I think I love that, Angela, because what you've sort of said then is you know the way, you go the way, and you show the way, which is John C. Maxwell's take on leadership. And I think you're right. And I love what you said then, that you influence that person in your business. I'm going to presume that you want to be the strong female leader for other females to come through this male-dominated industry. Would that be a fair call?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It can be really tough being in a male-dominated industry. I probably wouldn't have believed it. You hear women say equal rights for women, equal pay, and it sometimes it gets a bit of loud noise in the background. But once you're actually in a male-dominated industry, you realize that there are actually females in that industry who are also holding it together. And so for me, it is about showing that we can be and we are just as important as our male counterparts, because it's a team. That's what business is. We're a team. It doesn't work just with Paul or just with me. We both do very important parts. We both play important roles in our business. And so, playing, behaving, performing as a team that is, like a well-oiled machine, it shows our staff, and it also shows say for me, bringing in female employees, it shows them that just because they don't have the trade as such, they may be in the admin or the management space, they're still just as important in that trade business.
Beautiful. Well, I love that. And I think, you and Paul would complement each other. You bring a totally different skill set. Paul brings the technical. You bring the leadership, the influence.
Yes.
Seeing you together, you are just a great team together, and you're so connected. And it's really nice to see. I love seeing family-owned businesses that, most of them on the probably not all, but the vast majority actually bring a family type love to the people that they lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is, and
for us, it's really treating our employees as that. Like I said, we're a team, but it's just as important for us that our employees are successful as much as it is us. Just because we're the business owners doesn't mean that they have to work their absolute butts off so that we can go on their trips and we can profit and we can get the money and we can have, the fancy cars and that whatever it is. For us, if we're doing well, then we want our employees doing well. And I guess that's where the leadership part comes into it. We're showing them what we're doing so that they can do it too. Not just on our business level, but on personal levels. We have very open conversations in our office about wealth creation and finance and what we do with our money and where we put it and how much, if the business is making money and how much it's making and what we're doing with that. So that, especially with our upper line sort of managers, they can see that when they're working hard and there's tough days, that it's not just us, flying off to another state or another country to have a lovely time. They're also benefiting, and that for us, that looks like putting money into them. So maybe, bonuses or pay rises, things like that. But then it's also better vehicles, better equipment, nicer uniforms, better computers, upgrading those sorts of things. So it can look like a vast array of things. It's not just, oh, we made profit, so Paul and I are going to go on a holiday. That's not how it works. Not in our business anyway.
Oh, nice. And then it's, you mentioned all of there's things that you can upgrade, and the other thing to upgrade is really your employee skill set. The best thing
Yeah.
you can do to reward and recognize is to help them train, to upskill, which is what that word there says. Upskill and be able to deliver more, because the more they learn, the more they earn.
Yes.
Angela.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, that also looks like we have a multiple sort of business coaches. One of our coaches we've actually brought in to the business, and he has worked with our staff, just on a motivational level, seeing where they're at, seeing what he can do to help us support them. I've taken staff to some of our we go to a trade conference a few times a year, and I've taken one of our staff so that she could see what it looked like. That it was that whole connecting with different people from trade businesses, listening to speakers that weren't just about trade. It was, motivational and, a bit of personal development in there as well. So that's really important to us as well. It's the upskilling of our staff in terms of what they do in their job, but it's also the upskilling of them personally so that they can create, an amazing life. If they're happy and creating amazing life, then they're working hard for us, because it works both ways. We're putting that effort into them, and so they're, bringing it back.
And what does Richard Branson say, Angela? If you look after your staff, they'll look after your clients.
They do. Absolutely. It's it's that beautiful circle that, it all just keeps going round.
This has been just a highlight for me. So thank you so very much. Yeah,
Thank you so much for having me.
You and Paul should be so proud. So proud.
Thank you.
Very, very last. Yeah. Oof. Just off tap. Good. I just love where we went with that, and loved how you were able to just articulate, especially the female side of business. I think we talk about it a lot, but I think sometimes we don't talk about it correctly. And I think this is a sort of conversation where you can talk about what it feels like to be female, and the fact that sometimes you might lose that flow, but you gotta be in rooms, you gotta be around strong females who light the way for you, and that make you feel loved when you're in a room, that you feel loved together.
Absolutely.
Deep.
It is.
I think anyway. Angela Bondini. So, last question that I always ask our amazing podcast guests is, would you mind, pretty please, recommending us or introducing us by email maybe to someone who you think would be an amazing podcast guest for us, someone in your network somewhere, if that's okay. We'll follow up with an email.
I can absolutely do that.
You're a legend.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Look, best ever. You articulate really well, so thanks, heaps.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening or viewing our Find Your Influence podcast with Anton Guinea. Another great chat. Please be one of the 10% of people who follow and subscribe and like our videos, so that you can get more of them and you can hear more of our amazing conversations, the conversations that I get to have and that I get to share.